All right, so we are ready to turn the project inside out. You'll find the opening wherever you left it and turn inside out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my hand first to try to push the seam out to the side. Okay. Then I'm going to go in here with my seam ripper with the lid on. I'm not going to do it with the lid off because that would rip the hole in it, but I'm just going to smooth out my seam as much as I can, and then the rest of the way I'll do it with the iron. So I'm going to start here where my opening is. I'm going to make sure that edge is folded under, and it should be folded even with your seam allowance. You'll want to press that. Then this part is kind of tricky. You have to really work with the fabric to make sure. I'm going to get that seam running along the edge. So I just kind of reached in there and grabbed it. You don't want your seam to be tucked on the inside, so you want it to be running right along the edge. So it may be hard to tell, but what I'm doing in there is I'm just reaching inside the seam to try to pull it out so it's right along the outer edge. Can you see right here how it's kind of square? So I don't want that. I want to get down in here. I need to work that seam allowance out. So the seam runs right along the outer edge. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. I'm going to continue to press and try to straighten this out, make it nice and curved instead of pointed. So now I have pressed it really neatly and I'm just ready to start stuffing it. So you'll just take either like a poly blend or a cotton stuffing, whatever you've got, whatever we've got here, and you will start pushing it into the opening. I'll get a little bit in there, and I like to push it up into the top part first. Really fill in the curves with your stuffing. This will probably never lay as perfectly as a pillow that you would buy at a store that has a pillow cover on it. When you stuff a pillow, you always do end up with some lumps and bumps. It's never perfect, but that's okay. We're trying to teach a skill here, which would be sewing the curved seams, and then also the hand stitching. We're going to practice again the ladder stitch, so it just gives you some more practice doing those things. Alright, so I'll just keep stuffing it till it's nice and full. You want to make sure that it's full enough so it's not doesn't have any flat spots, but that it's not so full that it's busting at the seams and that it makes it hard to hand sew it. We're just going to keep stuffing that now, and we're almost done. amazing. I just changed to a different package of stuffing, how different they feel. So depending on what shape you have, if you have a letter or if you have a heart like I do, it's probably gonna depend on how much batting it actually takes to fill it. Want that point nice and full. Okay, about there. All right, so once it is stuffed, then I'm gonna take that opening that I had left, and you should have pressed it under really well. You'll just take a couple pins along that seam and you'll pin it closed. And then you're ready to hand sew. All right, so you should have 2 pins in your opening holding the opening closed, and make sure that you had pressed that first so you've got a nice crease going across the top. I've got a hand sewing needle and thread about 18 inches long and a knot tied at one end. And I'm going to take my needle between the 2 folds, between the 2 openings, and go back behind the machine stitching. What will happen here is my knot will be hidden on the inside of the seam. Okay, I like to move the pillow then at this point just a little bit, just it's comfortable for me. So wherever you're comfortable sewing, you'll hold it so your seam runs right across the top. I'm gonna look for where my last stitch came out, and it came out on this side, which it's probably the bottom. I'm gonna look and put this next stitch in directly next to it. So my needle is gonna go in and out of the fold. Okay, you'll just push that through and then give it a little tug. And then now wherever that stitch came out, I'm gonna go directly across from it in the fold, just across it, push that through. And my stitches are about 1/8 of an inch in length. All right, I'm gonna take this pin out, it's kind of in the way. All right, so where my last stitch came out, I'm gonna go directly across from it, in the fold and out of the fold. And after every stitch, you'll give it a little pull, and that will close up your stitch. If you can still see your stitching, then either you are making too long of stitches, so longer than 1/8 of an inch, or you're not giving it that little pull. So I'll just keep going back and forth. This is called the ladder stitch because it looks like a ladder. It's going to go side to side. Okay. And I'll just keep doing this all the way down. And then in a minute I will show you how to do the knot. So pause the video. Alright, so I'm going to put my last stitch in along the seam. I've done that ladder stitch all the way down, and the last thing that you're going to do is tie it off. And to do that, you're going to find one of your machine stitches that you had put in previously. I'm just going to put my needle underneath the machine stitch, and you'll pull through till you get a loop. So I'm going to put my needle through the loop, and then you'll pull tight and it'll make a knot. You'll do that a second time under the same machine stitch. Pull the needle through and then push the needle through the loop. Pull to make a knot, and then the very last step, you'll put your needle between the 2 seams. I'm pushing it down into the pillow and somewhere off on the side. I'm going to pull from that side. That's going to cause the tail end of my thread to go inside the pillow so I don't have any kind of loose strings across the top. And then I'm going to pull. Okay, and so now my knot and the extra thread are hidden inside of the pillow. And you're done.